Yo, what is good, everybody? What is poppin', y'all? My name is James Jones. I am just a guy with a story to tell and the desire to help people. And to do that, I have Spurt, my video podcast series where I talk about different experiences that I've gone through in my life in the hopes that you may be able to learn or realize something about yourself that you can then take and apply into your everyday personal and professional life. So a few days ago, I was talking to a friend who, for privacy reasons, we'll just refer to as Annie. And Annie and I were conversing about life and all of her mysteries whenever she brought up that she believes 26 is a reasonable age to expect someone to have their whole life figured out. Now, I, as a 24-year-old who's still trying to get everything together, right, found this to be completely outrageous. So much, in fact, that I, the next day, literally Googled, when are you supposed to have your life figured out? The top result took me to a Quora.com post by a user of the name Namera. And in Namera's post, she was specifically answering the question, did you have your life figured out by 26? Which I think is completely frightening. The government is definitely listening, y'all. I don't care what you say. And for Namera, her answer to this question was no. No, she did not have her life figured out. In fact, for her, at that time in her life, she was at an extremely low point. She hadn't graduated college yet. She was really emotionally broken after a failed relationship. She had been kicked out of her house by her landlord, a person who she felt was a really good friend of hers, and all this other stuff that was going on in her life. And as I was reading Namera's story, I just could not help but feel like she and I were the same person. And I felt this way because in 2016 was my freshman year of college. If you had asked me then at 18 where I would be now at 24, I would have said, oh, that's easy. We graduated by then, probably in grad school, working on my master's in education, probably a couple years teaching under my belt, possibly engaged, maybe with a kid on the way. Like, that's what I would have said. And so now, 6 years and a whole pandemic later, I haven't graduated yet still. Education is just about the last thing that I want to do. And the money, time, energy, effort that it would take to get a grad degree at this point just does not seem worth it. But what's crazy is that 18-year-old me would have agreed. I would have absolutely said that 26 is a perfectly reasonable age to expect someone to have their life figured out. So now the question becomes, why? Why 26? What is so significant about that age that made myself and others believe that that's a perfectly reasonable age for someone to have their life figured out by? Well, there's a couple ways you could look at it, but for starters, even though legally you're considered to be an adult by 18, your brain doesn't fully develop into like a full adult brain until 25. Meaning that on your 25th birthday, that is when you officially enter the realm that is full-blown adulthood. In that same breath, 25, you should also have a pretty decent amount of life experience by that point, right? Perhaps you graduated, boom, you turned 18. You went straight into 4-year school, had your little adventures, learned everything there is to learn from that. Or maybe you didn't go to school. Maybe you decided, hey, I'm just going to go straight into working full time. So that's what you did. You moved out of your parents' house. Boom, everything was cool. You sucked up all the lessons that there are to learn from that. You realized how hard it is to live on yourself, moved back in. There's a whole bunch of different things that you could have done. For me, I took the latter. I went straight into 4-year school for music education to be a choir director. That's what I wanted to do. And I wanted to be a choir director specifically because I had always loved choir. I'd always loved music. I was good at it. Singing was something I loved doing. On top of that, I had always known from ever since I was a kid, I had always known that I was going to work with kids, that that's what I was called to do in life. So at that point, it just made perfect sense. Boom, want to work with kids, want to do music education, let's get it. So I thought that I had a pretty good, solid plan coming into college, but what I didn't expect was for me to immediately realize that, no, that's not what I wanted to do. I felt that way because all of my friends, they would literally go home, they would listen to all kinds of choir music, they would come back the next day and be like, hey, yo, guys, I just listened to Bach's Fifth Cantata, I just listened to, it was so beautiful, it was so eloquent. Oh yeah, well, I just listened to some Tchaikovsky, bro, the way he uses his... I'd be sitting there and I'm just like, y'all, I went home and I played Pokemon, right? Like, that's what I did. So I just very quickly realized, like, I didn't actually love the thing that I was studying nearly as much as the people around me. And so and I just didn't feel all that, I just didn't feel like that's what I was supposed to be doing, I guess. And so I went into this super long period of just essentially rebelling against the very thing that I had come to school for. I went from music education to music business to regular business, back to music education to regular education, back to music ed. And I kept going back to music ed because I thought it was just the most comfortable, right? That's what I had come into school saying that I was going to do. I had let my professors and my parents convince me like, hey, that's what you're supposed to be doing. But at the same time, it just didn't sit right with me. And so instead of focusing on school and, my major and stuff like that, I started focusing on all of the extra stuff that was going on at the time. And I was doing a lot of extra things, man. I mean, I was the president of my fraternity for a couple of years. I was a university ambassador. I participated in all the shows, events, traditions, and stuff that my campus would hold. I did a lot. But my favorite thing, my absolute favorite thing that I did throughout my entire time in college was I was the mascot. I was the mascot of my school. And I was good at it too, man. In fact, my sophomore year of college, I was voted 8th best mascot in the country, man, right? So with all the success and excitement and enjoyment that I was getting from being a mascot, I very heavily considered pursuing a career in being a professional mascot. I had a lot of friends, mascot friends from all over the country. One specifically went to the University of Texas. They were Hookem, the mascot over there. And through him, I would talk to all kinds of local sports teams around Austin, talking to them about, mascot internships and stuff like that. I was very serious about it. But at the end of the day, I decided that it wasn't for me. It just wasn't for me. But as you can see, my mind and my attention was split between all kinds of different things that I was doing, but never on what I really should have been focusing on, getting my degree. And I began not caring as much. I began, just not really thinking about school. I stopped trying, and naturally my grades went down. I started failing classes, and I just started losing my motivation to go to school in general. But I didn't really care because I had all the extra stuff that I was doing. And I knew that I was essentially, like, in terms of building up towards the future that I had, that I thought I was building up towards, I had that whole foundation that I came into college with completely gone essentially by my junior year of college because I was just so focused on all these extra things. Again, I knew what I was doing, but I was just getting so much enjoyment. I was getting so much excitement, so a sense of accomplishment from all these other things that I was doing that school faded into the background. And I knew that it would come back later to bite me, but I didn't care. I just didn't care. So I continued to pursue all these, other things that I was doing. And by my senior year of college, I was doing photography, picked up photography, and I took off with that really fast. I mean, within my first 2 or 3 months of doing photography, I was already doing graduation shoots. I was already doing engagement shoots, stuff like that. Like, I had picked up a lot of momentum with photography. But then that was fall of 2019. By spring of 2020, we all know what happened then. Freaking COVID hit. Lockdowns began. My motivation, my drive, all the momentum that I had built up with photography just kind of hit a brick wall. And so I just was kind of left with not really doing much at that point. And I decided, you know what? If I'm not already just kind of sitting here, there was something else that I always wanted to do. And I did it. It was streaming. I essentially switched photography with streaming. As a kid, I had always dreamed dreamed of being a Pokemon YouTuber or a PokeTuber or whatever that, you want to call it. I'd sit there in front of my computer with my little Nintendo DS in my hand, playing Pokemon Black and White, watching YouTube videos of Shofu and Giancarlo Power Mango 11 and Munching Orange, all those OG guys, and I'd be thinking to myself like, yo, bro, I want to do this so bad. I want to do what they do. Playing Pokemon in front of however many people, bro, that would be lit. And so whenever COVID hit and we seemingly had nothing but time, I decided, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to create my own Twitch stream. I'm going to show the world my love for Pokemon. I'm going to meet a bunch of equally nerdy people as I am. Like, it's going to be awesome. And in my opinion, starting a stream was arguably the most invaluable thing that I ever did during my time in college. And I say that because it was literally a combination of all the skills that I'd learned throughout my entire time in school. Not just from like school itself, my classes and stuff, but also from all the extra stuff that I was doing. For example, being the president of my fraternity, leadership skills that I gained from that, how to communicate with people, how to plan events, how to, communicate with all the people. That was something that translated heavily into streaming, having to, set a schedule so that people know whenever you're going to be, when you're going to be online, having to plan community events so that way your people have something to look forward to coming, that keeps them coming back. All these different things. What's something else? Photography. Through photography, I learned how to use Photoshop, and Photoshop was an extremely valuable tool that I had at my disposal for streaming. I used it to make all of my overlay, because I made my own overlays through Photoshop, and I learned how to do it all myself. I would make all my badges and icons and stuff like that through Photoshop, and I would even make stuff for other people, right? So it just really helped me kind of build not just my brand, but also just my community, the people who I had, because I would do stuff for them, and that would help them, that would make them want to keep coming back, right? What's something else? My history and performance and just being a mascot also, the learning how to stay entertaining, being animated, having good camera presence, like it all just accumulated into just me being all those different things helped me become a better streamer, undoubtedly. But streaming also helped me in a significant way. For example, with Pokemon, like I said, I have always loved Pokemon. I've just always loved it ever since I've been playing Pokemon for like 16, 17 years now, I think. But I would never tell people about this love, this passion that I had for Pokemon. Because I was a nerd, bro. I still am a nerd. But, whenever you're growing up, like, nerds get roasted. They get flamed. They get bullied. And that was something that I struggled with immensely. I was that kid who would get bullied. I would be that kid who'd get pants. And I'd be that kid who'd, get... So whatever. It doesn't matter. But I was that kid, and so I didn't want to have something else that kind of added on to all this extra stuff that was always happening, or already happening, excuse me. So I just didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody about my love for Pokemon because I just didn't say it. And so going from that, and then all of a sudden having this stream where the whole thing essentially was just dedicated to me playing Pokemon, I'm not even kidding. And whenever people would ask about my stream, they'd be like, hey, yo, what do you stream? I'd have to tell them Pokemon, right? And my heart would sink every single time I would tell people that, because it's like, shit, what are they going to think about me? Like, these guys think I'm a total dweeb. They think I'm not doing anything in life, which I guess arguably you could argue I wasn't doing anything in life. I would definitely argue, but whatever. It really helped me build my confidence as a person. It helped me develop who I am now as a person. And I literally I would not be the person, undoubtedly, I would not be the person I am now if I had not decided to make that Twitch stream. And even though we're a year removed from the last time I streamed, I streamed earlier this year, but we're like a year removed from the last time I was, consistently streaming. And I'm still taking classes, and I'm still doing stuff, building towards my career and stuff like that. But streaming never, and photography, all those other extra things, still was not helping me get my degree. And like I said, it's not like I haven't just been not paying attention to my career. I've been working for the Y for the past, 7 years. I've been doing a lot of good stuff over there. but currently just not. And you know, I've always been fine with the fact that, you know, I'm behind in life, but it was whenever I turned 24 this past summer, whenever I really realized, like, James, like, not comparatively to other people, like, I don't give a fuck about other people, and you shouldn't either, but comparatively to where I myself wanted to be now, I am behind, and I owe it. I have no one to blame but myself. I recognize that, but it's at a point where all those decisions that I made at that time has caught up to me now. Unfortunately, I am not in class this school year, or not this school year. I'm not taking classes this semester, because I owe money from this past summer semester and money from previous semesters as well. And unfortunately, those are classes that I wouldn't have had to take if I had just passed them the first time I took them, right? So it's, even though I was before and still am okay with where I am in life. Before, I would have told you I'm content. I am not content. Not right now. There's, because I am way too talented of a person. I'm way too passionate of a person. I'm way too energetic of a person to not do great things in life. And even though I know I'm doing good things, but I have the potential to do so much more, and that's kind of where I am. So I am 24 years old. I do not think that my life will be figured out by 26, but I do think I'll be a lot closer to realizing whatever plan God has for me by then, right? Or at least more than I am now. It scares me a little bit because, you know, I'm already several months into my time being 24, in like a year, in like 7 months I'll be, no, it's a little bit longer than that. In like 8 months I'll be 25, and that's just, and by then, like, you're just on the downward spiral to 30, right? So it's just, but again, like, I did this to myself. I know what mistakes I have made in the time since I started college up until now. And I feel like that so long as you as a person, no matter where you are in life, you could be older than me, you could be around my age, you could have just graduated high school, right? Like, no matter where you are on on your road trip, whatever, just remember that you are going to get to where you are going regardless of how you get there. You just need to do your best to use the things that you saw on the way, the experiences that you had on the way, to your full advantage, because those things can be huge in determining how far you're actually going to be able to go. Like I said, I would not be who I am if I had not done all these extra stuff. I would not be who I am if I wasn't the president, without being the mascot, without being a photographer, without being a streamer, without whatever. But now I just need to use all these different things to build up towards whatever plan is in store for me in the future. So I hope you guys are, if you're stressed out about whatever you got going on in life, whether, specifically as pertains to your own future, what you're going to do with life, I hope this kind of helped ease your mind a little bit, or at least got you thinking about some other stuff that you potentially, maybe you just didn't think about before, or perhaps you just feel a little less alone now. Because trust me, y'all, like, I hear you. Everyone, I hear you. It's rough to feel like you're a failure. It's rough. Oh man, did that sound bad? It's rough to feel that way. I'm just gonna say that. But yeah, you guys, keep trucking through. Y'all got it. We all got this. Life is hard, fam. No one should expect anybody to have anything figured out by a certain age, because that's not. And granted, in Annie's defense, like, it's not like she just believed this. She was just basing her opinion off of her sister, who pretty much, I mean, she had her own house, she had a great career, all these different things, great boyfriend by 26, right? So that's just, it varies for different people. So please don't feel like it's a hard date or anything like that. I know for sure, for me personally now, I think that 26 is a perfectly reasonable age to not expect someone to have their life figured out, but at least for someone to be well on the way to figuring it out, well on the way. But like I said, life is a journey, man. We all have different ways of getting there. Just use those things that you learn along the way to your advantage. That being said, you guys, we are going to cut this thing off right now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening. Let me know what you learned from this. Let me know something that stuck out to you. I'd love to hear it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Otherwise, y'all be easy. Stay positive. I'm gonna catch you guys on the flip. Take care, fam. Peace. My shorts always riding up. Sheesh.